All right, let's do it live on a First Friday Miracle edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Bo. He is the Great Z. We are what the technical term for this, I believe, is called loaded up. Jim Nantz is going to join us at 1:15, working on Bernie in the 2 o'clock hour, probably at 2, and then potentially 2:15 for Bernie, and then 2:30 rather. Chris Collinsworth will join us on the program, paying homage to The Voice. So it's loaded up, as is customary. It is the day before Halloween. The Browns are back on the practice field today. On to the Chargers we go. Pre-practice injury report: Joel Bitonio, Jordan Hicks, JOK, and Denzel not expected to practice. JOK will not play on Sunday. Denzel is TBD, but everybody else is a go, including Jed Wills.
Yeah, it'll be curious to see what they do. I think that this brings us to a decision point here. I know what my decision would be. I'm pretty sure you and I have the same decision. We'd play DeJuan Jones at left tackle and just say, let's go, baby.
Yep.
But that'll be an interesting thing to see play out in real time, obviously, this week. Now, if, let's just say, there is a world in which, Joel Bitonio is not able to go, I would wonder, could we get Jed some guard reps and just see what that looks like?
Sure, it's all on the table.
Why not? So I don't know if that – I don't have any idea if that's in play or not, but that's something that, I would look at. It's JOK, when you suffer that kind of a traumatic injury – and I think we know that he's okay, so it's good. I'm not surprised with the bye next week. They're like, look, let's just get yourself back to 100%. We'll go from there.
Yeah, he's playing at obviously a Pro Bowl clip. He's playing at an All-Pro clip as well. So, there's a lot at stake for him and Denzel personally in the midst of this season. There's a lot on the line for this team. 2-6 is what it is, but you found a spark last week in the win against Baltimore, and now an opportunity to stack it. You get to that bye week at 3-6, not obviously where you thought you'd be, but not out of the water yet either, not dead in the water yet either. So there's an opportunity for the second half. To me, I was thinking about this, buddy. I want to run this by you.
Sure.
Obviously, the goal would be to find a way to scratch and claw and get yourself back into the postseason picture. But short of that, I do think there's real value in two things this season. Number one, your younger players, like what we're doing potentially with DeJuan Jones at left tackle, seeing them really get showcased. What happened with Cedric Tillman Sunday was something that we've been waiting on. And is there more of that in the offering? And then the other thing is play games in December that matter. Be in the mix.
Yeah.
I think that's chase it a little bit, like we did in Baker's rookie year. Chase it down a little bit. We dug a big hole here. It might be too big to dig out of, but play interesting games in December and learn something about your young players, and this can be a successful season.
I think that's exactly right. And obviously, you want to get on a winning streak here. You can win the 2 going into the bye, get you to 3-6. You'll be favored probably in New Orleans coming out of the bye.
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, you're at 4-6. Then you get the Steelers to get to 5-6. That could be. That's where it's got to be, but it's got to start with, and this is a very tough game this weekend that we will talk about. It's going to be a very tough game, but yeah, I think you're right. For me on defense, it's finding out about, and with Jordan Hicks' injury, we might get to see even more of them. Amamu Diabate. Up front, it's about more Isaiah McGuire, more Mike Hall, who I've been very, very impressed with. On the back end, it's about MJ Emerson, who, by the way, the last couple of weeks is starting to look much more like the MJ Emerson of old. It's about getting him rounded into form. It's about Cam Mitchell getting some opportunities that are going to come organically, my guess, if Denzel misses sometimes. Khalif Halassi, what you see out of him, I'm guessing he'll be back onto the active roster sooner rather than later. If Juan... Obviously, you want to see Juan get going. Doesn't have an interception with Cleveland yet. Ronnie Hickman, D'Anthony Grant, who's been so good for you. And then offensively, it's Elijah Moore playing for a contract. It's you want to see Jerry Jeudy look like he could be that number one guy. Cedric Tillman coming along the way that he has. That's really what you're looking for. And as you mentioned, DeJuan Jones. And if it gets to the point in the season where you would do this, and at some point, I guess you will there. If you're either going to hopefully be in it the whole way, but if you're not, if you are mathematically eliminated at some point, then you'll see, DTR for a few games, I'm sure. So that is what it's about. But right now, it's about trying to get 2 wins in a row and get yourself into a position where you're at least thinking about it. Because remember, if you're right now, they're 6-2, you're 4 games behind the Steelers, who have not yet played the Ravens.
Yeah.
Have they played the Bengals?
They have not played a divisional game yet.
Okay. So that means there's guaranteed losses all over, and you get to play them twice.
Yep.
So if you can take care of your 2 head-to-heads, all of a sudden it's a 2-game lead, and they haven't played the Ravens yet or the Bengals. So it's all in play, but this isn't. You got to win this game. Point blank. I think the next 3 are must wins.
Yeah,
because you'd have to win this one. You got to then beat the Saints, and then you have to beat the Steelers at home on Thursday night. Mm-hmm. And if you can do those things, then maybe it's a discussion where you're like, hey, you know what? Maybe 9-8 can get us in somewhere, and you still would have room for a few more hiccups at that point. But that's where you're going to have to be. I mean, you're sitting here at 2-6. The reality is you got to go 7-2 minimum the next 9 games, and we know that's not going to be easy.
No, our schedule gets really difficult as it starts to stack up.
The final 4 are very tough. Well, 3 of them at least.
The crazy thing though is there are a lot of teams in the same boat we are. Miami is 2-6.
Yep.
The Jets are 2-6. Cincinnati is 3-5. Jacksonville thought they were a playoff team. They're 2-6. So there isn't the separation, and you do have to think that there's going to be a reverting to the mean for Denver. Like, do I think Denver's going to stack that? I don't know. Their defense is really good, but I just don't know if they're ready to be all of a sudden a 10-11 win team.
Listen, that's on you, though. That's on you to beat them.
Yeah, because you have it.
Monday Night Football, perhaps not.
Yeah, those are the type of games that can flip one way or another. But there are a bunch of teams in here, and 2 of them in the AFC East, and obviously us and the Bengals, that were all considered before the season started as those are playoff teams.
Yep.
And you're all kind of chasing the same thing. I had the tradition in our house is that I carve the pumpkins.
We have that tradition as well, and I'm done with it.
Okay, so that's where I was. So what the tradition turns out through the years, and NBC's 12 now, is I carve the pumpkins, and I realize that they're into it for about 22 seconds. And then they pick their style. Then I start carving it. They're excited for the 22 seconds it takes for them to grab the first bit out of the inside of it. And then they're like, actually, this stinks. It feels weird. We're out, Dad. I'm good. And then they're off doing their thing, and it's me sitting at a table by myself carving pumpkins. And so I've protested this for years. Well, all of a sudden this year, I'm at basketball practice on Monday, and I get a picture from the blonde, and it's NBC has carved his own pumpkin. So last night, on a rare instance where I didn't have things, I hear rustling, and Beamsy and Bootsy carve their own pumpkins. And all of a sudden, I come up and I'm like, "Hey, little cats in the cradle. What happened
here?
Do
we have pictures?
Yeah, I took some. Varying levels of success, but it was more the fact of like, oh, I'm not needed anymore on this. And so there was part of me that was like, well, thank God I don't have to do that anymore. And then part of me that was like, well, wait a second.
Yeah.
What happened here? I mean, I thought this was the thing that we do, and I complain about it, and everybody thinks it's funny. And now, so I just went back down to the basement and played the college football game for an hour.
It's great.
I guess.
You should have texted me. I'd have played you.
I guess just was alone. I was like, geez, maybe I'll just pour a drink.
Well, you should have had your own
Hank
pumpkin.
Williams. I don't know. Maybe I will next time. I was so shook that that my presence wasn't required or asked.
So when they were younger, it would be kind of what you described. Then for a good stretch, we all did our own. I did my own pumpkin. They each did their own pumpkins, and Kayla would do her own pumpkin, and we'd put them out. I'd always do like a ZWO one. They would do more creative designs, and then the last couple of years, they're just like, yeah. So they phase into it, and then they phase out of it.
Way out.
Yeah. And now they're just like, yeah, we had, and they were like, well, can we just like paint the pumpkin? I was like, sure. I was like, give me some paints. I would do that.
I'll paint it right up. It's easy. I don't want to get that stuff out. It's a mess.
Then it rots on the inside.
Yeah.
It's a strange thing to begin with.
I have a feeling that like the pumpkin, whatever the pumpkin union or the pumpkin workers of America a long time ago, the idea that they shoehorned that vegetable into 2 holidays is a really remarkable thing, because it is much like your theory on turkey.
Yeah.
It's not like pumpkin's something that anyone's chasing down, but somehow this time of year,
gotta have pumpkins.
We gotta have pumpkins. We gotta carve them for Halloween, then we gotta eat them at Thanksgiving.
They get their own patches.
That's exactly right.
You eat pumpkin at Thanksgiving?
Pumpkin pie.
Pumpkin pie.
I don't. I think it sucks, but people eat it. They like it. You see the pumpkin spice? Like, how did they pull this off? How did the zucchini folks not get in on this? What's the difference? Couldn't you do the same thing?
Pumpkin does have a little bit of a flavor to it, that like in a pie setting because of all the other things that are on it.
That's it.
But
you've had these zucchini like brownies that taste just like a brownie.
I don't understand why it's not why it's not sweet potato. Like, why isn't sweet potato spice? Because I think a sweet potato pie is even better than a pumpkin pie.
I agree with you. Yeah.
And you
somebody got in on it.
In New Orleans in the South, they love a sweet potato pie.
They love a sweet potato pie. Pecan pie.
Ugh.
Like a pecan pie.
Pecan pie. Whatever that gel is that happens to exist inside of a pecan pie is the best.
I don't know how they do it.
I don't know what it is.
It's good, though. Yeah. It's really good. Yeah. Jameis Winston, your AFC Offensive Player of the Week as well. Did you? Dove winning. We haven't done that. Dove winning.
Winning.
Chuck. Good job. Hat tip to the big play folks who took him to Swenson's.
Yeah.
That's
amazing.
Him being amazed by they got it together on their own, obviously, and made that happen. But like the idea,
Galley boy, baby.
Oh, of course. See, I don't like the Galley boy because I don't like all the topping stuff to it. I like their regular burgers. The regular burgers are awesome. Those I'm not a Galley boy guy, but I don't like the sauce. But the idea that he was blown away by the tray on the windshield.
I just leave this here. Yeah.
You guys grew up with drive-ins, right? Where they would come and put them on.
Yeah.
People roller skate out to whatever.
They put it on there. There you go. That's it. James had no idea it stuck. Spectacular. Good job out of them. Browns fans are giving away a stealth recliner. It's actually here in the studio. It's courtesy of Zip Chair by Dream Seat. At the end of the season, the recliner has already been signed by Cedric Tillman, Jerome Ford, and Dustin Hopkins. Each player guest will sign when they're in the studio with us. Visit zipchair.com to learn more about how to deck out your fan cave with custom Browns branded furniture.
I mean, it's pretty sweet.
It's a very comfortable chair.
It's a lovely chair. No Whiteheart on there? Whiteheart was in studio, baby. Come on.
Chair wasn't in here yet.
Sad.
I'll tell you, it's been prominently
the Hoff
signed
says
already.
He's going to sign it when he comes back.
Yeah,
that will elevate.
The Hoff will sign it. I mean, I'm sure we get Miles and those guys to.
I think we should sign it.
Obviously. I'll sign it on the bottom.
We should have the G, man.
Where is he? I saw Dr. J. He's back in there.
He's downstairs, media availability. He's getting us Jameis right now that we'll play at 2:00.
Dr. J threw me for a loop yesterday when I saw him all studious.
Oh, he looks
just
great.
Perched at the corner of the bar. He looks spectacular. All right, Jim Nantz coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back into Cleveland Browns Daily. It's brought to you by Bally Bet, sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. And joining us on the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. Certainly one of my broadcasting heroes, and if you're of our age, I think most of our broadcasting heroes. The great Jim Nantz joins us. And Jim, you do so unfortunately under the an auspice that probably none of us would want, and that is the passing of the great Jim Donovan. Your relationship with Jim through the years, coming in to call Browns games and appreciation for him, where did it land for you?
Well, it runs deep. I really did know him primarily from, by the way, thanks for having me on to talk about Jim. Just such great admiration for him. But when we would have the occasion to be calling the same game, there was always a visit because we all get to the stadiums early. And I remember watching him way back when he was doing some national work for NBC, doing games, and I thought, man, this guy's really, really good. He's outstanding young broadcaster. And, became quickly aware of his ties in the market and just anchoring in the market. And, of course, his long tenure with the Browns. And he just represented everything about the organization and really way beyond that, the community, in such a first-class fashion.
Jim, you guys probably, when you on the visits, and I had the privilege of being in there a few times when you would pop in, but commiserate the fact that we didn't win very often when you got to call our games, so there are not a lot of shared joyous memories.
It's nice to hear your voice again, Nathan.
Yes, good to talk with you.
It really is. But I've thought about him so much here over the last few days, and through the years that he sat in that important position as the voice of the Cleveland Browns. And you're right. Sadly, he didn't have as many triumphant moments to call as I wish he would have had. I don't want to say it as he deserved. He can't control the outcome of these games, but he had to really sit there through some really lean years, but total professional. And when I heard the news that he had passed, I just thought that, looking back on it now, it was like an inspired performance on Sunday. It's almost like it all was tied together. I mean, to beat the mighty Ravens, not a whole lot of people saw that coming, but it feels like now that was one for Jim. It really does to me.
It was, and as we said kind of on the broadcast, like it just had to be that way. And I know you were getting ready for your game, obviously, with Washington and the Bears. But when that score came across, the dial, and I'm not sure if you even saw, Kyle Hamilton dropped probably the easiest interception of his football life. Where did it just kind of say to you, man, that's got to be it just had to be for Jim, right?
I was thinking that the whole time. When we're in our booth, you'd be shocked at the number of monitors we have, a monitor wall that includes ISO monitors, primarily for Tony's benefit, where he can just get a direct feed of a player or a group, like a linebacking group, and it's all isolated for him. But I'm right there to see it, too. We also have a monitor that's between us that's on the red zone. I asked for that several years ago. I'm one of these NFL crazy fans, and I think it has to do with a lot of studio work in my past and sitting in the anchor chair at the NFL Today for so many years. I am wired to want to know what's going around the entire league. So when they throw it to us, I throw it to them for, let's go back to our studio in New York. Here's Bill Cowher with an update. And he'll go through a play, and we had several of the Browns and Ravens highlights coming in as updates into our broadcast, and he throws it back to me. I love to be able to tag what he's showing us with something off the cuff. I've been reading all week long. I need a place to dispense with some of this information that's taking up some RAM space in my head. So, listen, I was paying really close attention to that game because I just saw something special was unfolding. I was thinking of Jim Donovan the entire time. And, the interception, it was right in his hands for Kyle Hamilton. And I don't root for teams, okay? I root for stories, and I root for good people. I get asked that all the time. Who's your team? I've got so many contacts and friendships around the league. I root for people that are doing noble things, helping their community, doing great work that we don't always hear or see about. That's what I'm rooting for. So I felt that on Sunday, all about Jim Donovan, and it was really great to see the city have a moment in what has otherwise been a very tough year, but the timing of it to beat the mighty Ravens the day after was storybook stuff.
Jim, certainly know your appreciation for the craft of play-by-play, and Jim Donovan's appreciation for the craft of play-by-play was the stuff of legend going back to his youth, but also doing it in this part of the country and doing it in a place like Cleveland with a revered franchise like the Browns that means so much to this region. And as Nathan mentioned, the success largely wasn't there much while he was there, but I think in a way that made him even more important to this fan base because he was kind of the one thing you could count on through 25 years was that whatever happened in the result, Jim, you're going to get a hell of a call.
No question. He was the constant. He was in an otherwise very transient industry. Players come and go. He was the constant. He was a rock. He was reliable. I'm sure that everyone felt like, hey, he's one of us. And he was. And it's everything you could ever want in having a hometown play-by-play broadcaster and have that kind of relationship, just pure respect and love back and forth between the citizens of the community and the man that's repping their team. And we all know that you said it, it's a storied franchise, and I know it firsthand. The fan base in Cleveland, they're just amazing fans, great fans. And Jim gave them a great ride. And I think, too, about the struggles he had. This just wasn't a sudden thing, as we all know. How hard he fought it, came back, resurfaced. It's been tough. Poor guy. I mean, went through a lot. And I was looking at some pictures earlier this week of him being honored last year at a game and sitting down in the dog pound, and such a joyful look on his face as he's right in the middle of, the hardiest and most ardent fans of all. And it's too young. I mean, he really, if he had his health, it's a position he could have done. This is going to sound crazy to some people, but it's true. It's happened all over. He could have done this into his 80s.
Oh, yeah.
He really could have if he had his health. And I just regret that for many things, but I regret they didn't have a chance to be there and see some of the better days that no doubt will come for the franchise.
Jim, thank you so much for all of those words.
Yeah, and taking the time and how much you meant to Jim in those conversations. It means a lot to all of us here. Yeah. Thank you so much, and look forward to all of your calls going forward and hopefully run into you sometime down the road.
You're great to have me on. I'm honored to be asked, and I admire what you guys do. I wish all the Cleveland Browns faithful out there best wishes on the rest of the season. Keep faith, because Jim did. He really did.
That's right. By the way, hopefully we can get you some late game drama, and it's been pretty dull for you at the end of these games lately.
I'm going back to Baltimore this weekend to see how they recover from that loss. But I'm coming off of one of the most exciting, thrilling finishes of my career with the Hail Mary.
Yeah,
it's still
unreal.
My voice doesn't even feel, and I'm not sick. It's just I pushed it so hard. I was so shocked when the ball just gently fell into the hands of Noah Brown. I blew out a vocal cord or something. It's still raspy, but man, what a moment to be able to document and have a front row seat to watch it. Somebody said it was the first Hail Mary to end a regular season game ender, no time left, since Aaron Rodgers in 2017 against Detroit, and I did that one.
Yeah, you did.
So I've been very fortunate, but that one, what a scene. It is amazing. And, you go through all that frenzy, and you don't really know what you're saying. You're just in that bubble. You're
totally.
You're locked in that zone, and something's happening, and you walk away from the booth, and people are saying, hey, man, that was unbelievable what you said. Really? What did I say? I don't know. I just reacted to it, and it's funny going back to listening to it, and I've had a chance to hear it several times since on some other shows and everything, but there's some things in there that I don't normally say, or my inflection was different than I normally would say. But that was just, I think, had to do with, just being completely enveloped in the moment. So this town is going crazy. It was wild. It was just wild. And, a madhouse is, I think, how I described it. So it was, we count our blessings for a lot of things. And my friendship, I want to circle it back to Jim. This is one of the things I'm really grateful for, is to meet great people on the road like him, a true professional who, was one of the real, true, great voices of the NFL.
Thank you so much, Jim. Thanks for your time.
Yes.
Thank you. All the best. Thank you again, guys, for having me on. See you now. Bye-bye.
All right. That is the Jim Nantz on the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it Twisted Cleveland. He is the most significant voice in sports, full stop, in sports media. That's it. If you do the NFL, you do the NCAA tournament for all those years, and you do the Masters, then you've done it. And there's once every 4 years where he doesn't do the Final Four anymore, but where he would do the Super Bowl, the Final Four, and the Masters, and the last time, all within a month and a half. And one of the last times I think he did it, I talked to him about this down at the Memorial, was the year Tiger won the last time around.
Yeah.
So he did the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And that Super Bowl was a thrilling one, and then it was the Final Four, and then it was Tiger winning the Masters. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, I mean,
that's it.
Yeah, he is the greatest play-by-play voice ever.
Yep. We'll meet the Chargers coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Bo here for my friends at Jim Beam. What do sports and Jim Beam have in common? Both are better when enjoyed with others. So grab a bottle, gather with friends, and enjoy the game. Because with Jim Beam, you come as fans and you leave as family. Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, 40% alcohol by volume. Copyright 2024 James B. Beam Distilling Company, Claremont, Kentucky. Drink smart. All right, here's what you can do. You want to do a cocktail for today's First Friday using the Jim Beam? Here you go. Here's a little impromptu for the kids. And we're on Halloween Eve. So if you could have one that's got a little bit of a red hue to it, perhaps it could pass off as blood. Okay? So here's what you do. You take 1 ounce of Campari, 1 ounce of sweet vermouth, and 1.5 ounces of Jim Beam or bourbon of your choice. Basil Hayden is another one that worked great with this. And you stir that baby up, and you pour it over ice, and away you go. A Belvedere. There you go. Kids, there you go. My gift to you.
Belvedere.
Yeah.
Will
Tasty.
you do that tonight and tomorrow night?
The way my week's going, I might do it at 3 o'clock.
I mean, that's fine by me.
Might just hit it at 3 o'clock.
I co-sign that.
Just go coach the kids drunk tonight. Maybe that's what I'll do.
You run that way.
I got 4 hours
Take
of
the
basketball
ball. You run that
practice
way.
tonight. I might be.
Oh, that's
I'm
right. We're into
contemplating-
basketball. We're not even
full
into football.
We're
It's
full
October.
basketball. I've been doing
feel like
basketball
in
for
the-
3.5 weeks. I'm going to do this. I'm thinking about doing this with the thirds.
In the era of Hoosiers, that was just
Oh.
normal.
Not only was it normal, encouraged. But you got to be a professional to handle it. You can't be like Shooter, strolling on in and stumbling all over things. You can't be that. You got to be able to handle it. But yeah, all right. Thinking about doing this with the thirds tonight. We practiced them. It's 2 teams. We practice them together. They're awesome. They've come a long way. A lot of drill work. We do a lot of 3-on-2-on-1, 3-on-3-on-3, that type of stuff. I'm thinking about doing. They play their first game in 2 weeks, and I'm thinking about because I don't think any of them played like a real game with travels. I'm thinking about doing a simulated game tonight as a little reward because they've been good boys.
Yeah, do it. Everybody loves a scrimmage.
Yeah, a little scrimmage.
You
big scrimmage guy, I bet. Huge scrimmage guy.
Anything to avoid
anything
Like
else.
when they were
we're
like,
gonna scrimmage?
all right, defensive
Great.
slides. No. I'm not doing miking.
Hey, let's
Not doing
play
miking.
basketball. Hey, you know what?
Scrimmage.
You know what the game?
Scrimmage,
You know what game we play?
Did you come
it's
up?
called basketball.
Did you go into?
Let's play it.
Hey, coach, can we scrimmage?
Yeah,
Can we
of
scrimmage
course.
today?
When I was on JVs,
When a kid does that to me, I go, because you asked. No.
when I was on JVs, and then our coach, he came up to varsity with us, but he played professionally in Europe. Like he could
so he
play.
could go. Yeah.
And he was probably in his early to mid 30s, so still very much able to play at a very high level. So he would take him and the bottom 4 on the roster.
Yeah.
And then they would play our
that's fun.
starters and whatever. And look at it. Look at just right there. Look at it. It's a high.
Just a
it's
gorgeous
a high pant. There's a lot
It's
of
a nice
sock.
looking pant.
Look
It's
at
a
how-
good. Well, it's
there-
good
look at
point
the
here.
room.
You
Look at the
here.
room
You
there.
here. Get it on the.
Yeah.
Get it here. This will be
You
the
missed
key.
it because
Oh,
Oh,
nothing.
Oh yeah.
Nothing on the look through.
I thought for sure we'd get a.
too locked
you
in.
guys
He's
missed
running
it.
a business.
He went around the pole, and I could see him, and he's just pointing.
He
and
points.
there's no one over there.
No, he just pointed
There's
at the
no
people.
one over there.
That's it. He's running a business. Big day for him yesterday.
I know.
Big day for him. That was beautiful. Beautiful to see. Beautiful. So how'd the scrimmaging go?
Great. We'd have some battles. I mean, we'd typically win, but he could. I mean, he was
Single-handedly, he
was
probably,
very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'd have fun with that. Scrimmaging's the best. Guess what? It's called playing basketball.
That was also in high school versus in third grade. If you do that in third grade, none of them know where to stand. They don't know what to do. They face guard.
No, but what you try to do, like when
we have drills that simulate actual basketball without them realizing they're playing actual basketball.
like when I was the year I coached Artie Buckets, the first thing I realized that if you have a team that can functionally rebound a ball, outlet it, and like get it ahead, you can get layup after layup.
That's
at this
true.
time.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of that, and then we do 3-on-2, 2-on-1s or whatever. But then we'd always get a little bit. Okay, let's take what we've done here in these few drills that we've done, and then now let's play.
Yeah.
And let's.
And you have to have a quick whistle. You have to stop it when it gets chaotic.
Yeah.
And you
You
go,
say,
what do we do?
hey,
Hey, come on. That's not it. Go stand in the corner. Why are you face guarding? 32 feet from the rim. What are we doing? You're not little guys anymore. Let's go.
When I was like,
So we'll see. I think I'm going to do it.
when I was like the 6th man, because I would just come in Vinny the Microwave Johnson style.
Were you just like eyes on the coach?
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
You know I'm ready.
What are you waiting for? What do you want?
And
Electric Factory?
he'd always hit me with the, it's not about who starts, it's and who. And I was always on the court at the end. But
Yeah.
it was whatever. He and I. Nonetheless, when I would my friend, Vince Condi, whenever he
The
would
waffle.
be, it was my bet, the waffle. If like he was guarding me, if I was playing like if I would be with like coach, if he wanted to step up so they could like, we'd beat the starters. Vince would face guard me everywhere.
Isn't he a dean now?
He is Dean Condi. Yeah. He'd face guard me everywhere. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, enough. And he's like, no, you're not getting the ball.
Not having it.
I'm like, good. Let's go back door right here.
Well,
Get
he had to
somebody over
defend
there
because he
and let's
couldn't
go.
make a shot. I think he proved that in Disney.
And he was a legendary shooter, right?
He was a good shooter.
Good shooter in back in the day, but struggled
not
with the
when it
misses.
mattered, according to the Miz.
Guy
That's
played.
true.
It's true. It's true. He did suffer a great indignity that day.
Wild. All right, you ready to meet the Chargers? They are 4-3 on the season. They are third in the AFC West. They're formidable. Jim Harbaugh is their head coach. He is 48-22-1 as a head coach. He
that
wins,
good?
kids. That's what he does. First season with the Chargers.
That's my name.
That's so good. I drive a $775,000 BMW. That's
my name. Yes.
Last time out, the
I knew you were-
Chargers
I knew
won
you were-
on October 9th, 2022. The last game they played, they beat New Orleans 26-8. They are 23rd overall in offense. They are 8th overall in defense. Their turnover differential is +6. In other words, they are everything you've come to expect of a Jim Harbaugh team. Dr. Z.
Yeah, but that doesn't even really do it justice. They are the number one scoring defense in the National Football League. They are allowing just 13 points per game. They've allowed just 9 touchdowns in 6 games. 13 points per game. They're the number 5 third down defense. They're the number 4 red zone defense. So they are very good. They limit first downs. They allow just 15.9 a game. They're number 1 in that category. So this is a great defense, and it's a defense that plays more shell coverage than just about anybody in the National Football League. This is a zone team. They are not going to come out and play man-to-man on you. They're going to play cover 2. They're going to play a ton of cover 4. They're going to play cover 6. The middle of the field is going to be open 56% of the time. That's third most in the league. They're not going to really blitz you a ton. They're going to play 3 safeties, though, and that helps them against the run. But it's a good defense. It really is. Here's the craziest stat of all.
Give it to me.
The nose tackles of the Los Angeles Chargers have more interceptions than the Cleveland Browns.
That is the craziest stat of all.
Thank you.
Yep. You've accomplished your gift and your goal.
Yeah, and without JOK on the field, we're not going to have a single player on the field on Sunday who has an interception this season.
That's something.
Yeah, our secondary has 0. We have no interceptions in our secondary. A ton
And
of
they've
PBUs.
played really well.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, Denzel's been unbelievable.
Grant Delpit's been great. Yeah, but they're Poona Ford's got a pick, and so does Tier Tart. So a couple of 5'11", 300 pounds, Poona Ford, and 6'2", 315 Tier Tart. They've got picks on the season. So they've done a great job. You mentioned the turnover margin. They're +6. That's 5th best in the league. They can get after the quarterback. They've got Khalil Mack. He's got 3.5 sacks. Bud Dupree's got 3 sacks. And then Joey Bosa is back. Last week was his first game back due to a hip injury that had cost him really since the first 2. He had a sack in each of the first 2 games, then really hasn't played since. But Bosa didn't have a stat last week, but he's back. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler. He's got 4 double-digit sack seasons. And then they've got Tuli Puolotu. Was that even close? Tui Pulotu. Yep, there it is. Tui Pulotu.
There you go.
That's a lot of them. When you get a 5-syllable, oh baby, that's serious.
Yeah.
So he's got a sack as well. He was their second rounder out of USC a year ago. So they're good there. And then on the secondary, Derwin James, a 3-time Pro Bowler. They play the 3 safeties, Derwin James, Alohi Gilman, and Elijah Molden. And then at the corners, they've got some young players who are playing a lot. I mean, you're talking about 5th rounders this year. Tarheeb Still, Cam Hart out of Maryland and Notre Dame, respectively. They're playing a lot. And yet teams are not really throwing the football all that successfully against them. There have been 0 300-yard passers against the LA Chargers this year. In fact, the season high was 257 Gardner Minshew in week 1 of the season. They've allowed just 1 100-yard rusher. They've allowed just 1 100-yard receiver on the year as well. So this is a defense that is just, quite frankly, it's playing very good football. They're not going to let you get down the field and make big plays. They're giving up just 6 yards an attempt through the air, and that's what they're doing. Bending but not breaking, forcing a lot of field goals. They've only allowed, really, on average, under 2 trips to the red zone a week. they've been very solid. And you look at their season. So they held the Raiders to 10 in week 1, the Panthers to 3 in week 2, the Steelers to 20 in week 3, the Chiefs to 17, the Broncos to 16, the Cardinals to 17, and the Saints to 8. So they've only allowed one team to score 20 points, and it was exactly 20. Nobody scored 21 points against this football team all year. And as we know, the Browns have scored 20 exactly once.
You know the damnedest thing?
What is it?
Jim Harbaugh, in his tenure at Michigan, one would argue, I don't know that there would be much of an argument for the other side of this, even from the Michigan man, the most ardent of Michigan man, lacked personal accountability for what happened within his program and what happened around his program. And yet, his teams play with an incredible amount of accountability. They do so here. They did so up there. They did so with the 49ers. His teams, and we knew it, that's why we liked him so much in the preseason, because the dude just wins, and his people like playing for him, and they play hard for him, and he puts them in the right positions, and they do their jobs. And it's just professional.
There's no doubt that over a 3 to 5 year horizon, he is going to be very successful.
That's it.
He's not going to go beyond that, most likely, because it's too demanding, rigorous, and probably at times odd. So we talked a lot about their defense, but he also knows good offensive football, and Justin Herbert is playing great football this year. 65% completions, 8 touchdowns, 1 pick, has not thrown a pick in 5 straight games. They drafted Ladd McConkey in the second round. He's their leading receiver with 30 catches, 376 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Josh Palmer's averaging 16.2 a catch. Quentin Johnson, their first round a year ago, has got a career-high 3 touchdowns. They've got another big guy, Simi Fehoko, who's averaging 17.7 yards a catch, so they can get you vertically. Herbert is, as we know, is one of the most gifted players in the league. And then J.K. Dobbins, 535 yards rushing already this year. That's the most he had since his rookie year, when he rushed for a career-high 805. We know injuries have absolutely devastated him.
Yep.
This year, 535 yards, 4.8 yards a carry, 4 touchdowns, 19 catches, 87 yards, so 622 total yards, 4 scores. He's been great. And they've got a very good offensive line. They've got Bradley Bozeman, who was, a longtime starter at center for the Ravens. And then they've got great tackles. Rashawn Slater, a Pro Bowler at left tackle, who's a first-rounder in 21. They've got Joe Alt, who was having a great start to his rookie season, the 5th overall pick this year out of Notre Dame. He stands at 6'8". They've got Trey Pipkins at guard, who's 6'6", 307, and then Zion Johnson, a first-rounder in 22. So if you look at their first-round picks, 21 was a left tackle, 22 is your left guard, and 24 is your right tackle. We're talking heavy investment there. 13th overall, 17th overall, 5th overall in that offensive line, and they've been good. They've been solid. Offensively, they dominate time of possession. They're very methodical. They've been a good third down offense. They're 40 of 99, 9th best 40% completion conversions. They don't score a ton, just 18.9 points per game. And in fact, when we were going through their schedule, early, it was, 22, 26, 10, 10, 23, 15, 26. So they've got 3 games at 15 or fewer points so far this season, 4 in the 20s. They haven't been a juggernaut. I mean, it's a far cry from when we played in 2021 down there, and Herbert throws for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and runs for another touchdown in one of the most fun games, crazy shootouts of all time, where the Browns got hosed on a phantom PI on A.J. Green, if I do say so myself.
I would say so myself as well, if I do say so myself. I'll tell you this. I don't know that you would argue this either. This team is nowhere in the vicinity as talented as the team that you played that day and the teams that we've seen them have over the last half decade. It's not in the vicinity, and yet this one's winning.
To your point, they have one guy who was in the Pro Bowl last year, Khalil Mack. Mm-hmm. They have on their entire roster, Khalil Mack's been to a Pro Bowl, Joey Bosa's been to a Pro Bowl, Derwin James has been to a Pro Bowl. Denzel Perryman was at a Pro Bowl in 21 back with Las Vegas, but certainly he's never played like a Pro Bowler there. And then offensively, Herbert's been to one and Rashawn Slater's been to one. That's it. This was a team that last year had Mike Williams, Keenan Allen.
Oh, gosh.
Gone. Eckler, gone. Yeah. Their whole running back room's been remade. Their receiver room's basically been remade.
Derwin James on the back end in his prime when he was an all-pro type player. I mean, they had all sorts of talent throughout this roster, and Staley was always the weak link to it. And now you get competent coaching, and away you go. You're a winning operation. It's coaching matters, kids.
Yes, it does.
Howard Hanna, official real estate partner of your Cleveland Browns. Exclusive buyer agents there to help you navigate the field, save time and money, and score that winning touchdown. A new home. Win big with the leader in real estate. Visit howardhanna.com/go Browns today for more. We will have some final thoughts with the Microsoft Minute coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Back for another season from your favorite four-legged companion this year, year 3 of the Barking Backers, presented by Milkbone, the fan club for dogs. View membership options and join today at barkingbackers.com. Time for the Microsoft Minute, powered by Microsoft Surface, powering the game. Here are Nathan's final thoughts on the Ravens game.
Thank you, Bo. As we break down the Browns' epic victory over the Baltimore Ravens, I think it has to start with the quarterback, Jameis Winston. He was just awarded, I don't know if you know this, the AFC Offensive Player of the Week, and boy, it was richly deserved. 27 of 41, 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a quarterback rating of 115.3. But there are a couple things that I think deserve extra attention. To be effective in the National Football League as a quarterback, you have to take advantage of clean pockets. And Jameis Winston was kept clean 77% of the time in this one. By the way, highest rate of Browns quarterback has been kept clean so far this year. And did he make them pay, Bo?
You bet he did.
That's right. 73% completions, 312 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 9.5 yards per attempt, and a quarterback rating of 132.4. Now, the Browns, have they been a big play offense, Bo?
No.
Were they in this game?
Yes.
That's because you got to take advantage from those clean pockets. Those plays down the field on passes of more than 20 yards in the air, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns, a rating of 143.8, 9 of 14 on passes of 10 to 19 yards in the air, 10.9 yards per attempt, 153 yards and a rating over 100 there. So Jameis Winston, kudos to you for taking advantage of that. I also came across a very, very fun stat as well that I would like to go through. These are copious notes for this Microsoft Minute. We want to make sure we get you the absolute best information. The Browns last week had 4 wide receivers in a game. 4 wide receivers, all of them over 60 yards. Just the second team this year to do that. The first being the Atlanta Falcons back in Week 5 against Tampa Bay, and in that game, Kirk Cousins set a franchise record with 509 yards passing. The Browns did it. Tillman, Moore, Judy, Njoku. So offensively, you love to see that. Now, we're going to flip it over to the defensive side of the ball, and we've got to single some people out who I think have been really playing good football, and it's going to start with Zadarius Smith. Zadarius Smith last year battled through a back injury that wasn't talked about, but it had an impact.
Mm-hmm.
He had 5 sacks last year.
That's right.
Do you know how many he has this year?
I believe he has 5.
You're good, you.
That's right.
You're good, you. Yeah, he's got 5 sacks. He's leading the team in sacks. I can't even remember in Myles Garrett's career at this point in the season when he was not the Browns team leader in sacks.
Leader in
the
sacks,
middle of the season. Shout out to Andrew Siciliano, who's taking part as well in the Microsoft Minute. It's all hands on deck. Zadarius, not only the team high 5 sacks, last week he had 9 pressures. 9 pressures. Guys playing at a great level. This would be potentially, if he rides this season out with the Browns, he's on pace now to have his 4th double-digit sack season of his career, and with 4 different teams. Think about that. That is very, very impressive by Zadarius Smith, the 3-time Pro Bowler. I also have to single out here, I would be remiss if I didn't, Mahmoud Diabate. Mahmoud is catching the attention of everybody around the league, and why shouldn't he? Team high 9 tackles last week. A pass defense had a sack, I think, erroneously taken away from him, but since it went to Zadarius, we're going to allow it. He's playing great football with Jordan Hicks banged up. Maybe you're going to see more of him, but he's 6'4", 225. He can run sideline to sideline, and he is physical. I love to see that. And then finally, we would be remiss if we did not discuss Corey Bojorquez. 10 punts inside the opponent's 10. That's tied for first in the league. 20 punts inside the 20. The symmetry of that is also incredible. I wonder if it's 5 punts inside the 5. I haven't done that research. Also averaging 52.1 yards per punt. That's 3rd best in the NFL. Corey Bojorquez has been great. And that, my friends, is the Microsoft Minute.
It's an incredible job out of you.
Thank
we
you.
need to change this to the Microsoft Minutes.
Fine.
Because that was a yeoman's effort.
Thank you.
On your side of things. Browns fans, enter Huntington Bank Field quicker on game day with Express Access presented by Verizon. Also new this year, select concession stands are going to offer Express Access presented by Bud Light. Enroll for free today. Go to the Browns Ticket tab in the Browns mobile app to learn more. You'll hear from Jameis Winston, Chris Collinsworth, also Bernie Kosar, all coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back into Cleveland Browns Daily. We're brought to you by Ballybet, sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio. Now time to head to the podium. Brought to you by Vivid Seats. Here is Jameis Winston.
AFC offensive.
You're down.
How does it feel after just one start?
It feels like one start. My main focus is getting back out there and having a great practice today, and continuing to lead this offense to do what we're capable of doing.
When you look back at Sunday, what was your own self-evaluation? Where did you feel like you excelled, and where did you feel like that's not to my standard?
Yeah, I feel like as a team we ran the football effectively. We made the completions when they were there. We are going to eliminate some things, but we're going to build on the positives, and we're going to keep our mind focused on those positives and build it upon that.
You were operating with a new left tackle the first time you played a game there. What did you think, and did you have any apprehension going into that game?
You talking about DeJuan?
Yes.
Well, me and DeJuan, we know we hold each other to a high standard. So I knew that he was going to be prepared and ready to go, because he can and probably will be one of the best tackles this NFL has seen.
Jameis, it seems like all your teammates talk about how consistent you are from your personality to the way you prepare. I'm just curious, is that something that you think that has always been a part of you through your NFL career, or is it something that you talked about, your time in New Orleans being impactful? Is that something that maybe changed during that time?
Well, no, me being authentic, that's just who I am.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, that's
your
what,
consistency, maybe your preparation.
well, no, I've always been, hey, I'm gonna be the first guy in, the last one to lead. Like that's just quarterback one-on-one. And that's why I've learned from coaches, from my father, who's my favorite coach, probably my best coach. So that he's always instilled that into me, and that's required. That is required.
What about the pre-practice? Right? Can you just kind of break it down what you're doing?
Well, yeah, it's just in terms of mentally and physically preparing my body. Just seeing veterans in the locker room take pride in their body, understanding that our body is our temple, and we have to be ready for Sunday because no one cares about what we're really going through. We have to be ready and mentally and physically.
Last week you talked so much about being grateful to have that chance to start again. Kevin said you're the guy moving forward. Do you feel rejuvenated by this opportunity?
No, I'm just extremely grateful for this opportunity, and I'm extremely grateful for today, and that's what I talked about last time. Like my focus is on winning every single day, and right now we have to go out there and win Wednesday. So I'm grateful that I get a chance to lead this offense on Wednesday, even at practice.
So I asked Kevin this morning to sort of clarify, and he did say that he may be the starter for the rest of the season. So does that change anything at all about how you approach anything or your feelings about this opportunity in any way?
No. My preparation is to be an NFL starting quarterback, to be a great NFL starting quarterback. My preparation has to be to the standard that's required, and nothing's going to change about that.
How do you get the rest of the guys to believe at the level that you believe?
Well, you exemplify that belief. One of my favorite pastors, Dr. Tony Evans out of Dallas, he used his terms about faith. Faith is not just saying, I have faith, but faith is acting like you believe God. So when I'm out there leading or speaking to someone, I'm acting like I know what I'm talking about. And if I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to follow up with them and say, hey, man, I was wrong there. Hey, let's fix this. Right? So I think it's just being authentic. I'm always going to have ultimate belief in unwavering faith, because that's my faith. That's because I know what God has done for me. So I think my experiences of what has happened to me over the wisdom is experience. So I've experienced so much, and I've saw the grace and the holiness of Christ in my life. So therefore, I show that to other people. Right? It's just that light. It's that continuous light that I'm going to continue to show that light, because I know how far I have came.
Jameis, the Chargers have a pretty physical defensive front. They don't give up a lot of points. Do you see any similarities when you look at them to the Ravens, considering You got Jim and John Harbaugh coaching both of those teams.
Yeah, very, very, very similar conceptually in terms of their coverages and everything. Personnel, when you got Khalil Mack, you have Joey Bosa, you have great interior guys, great linebacker group, great DBs. I know one of them personally, Derwin James. He's a beast. But man, I believe in us. I believe that we're a great physical team. I believe in Nick Chubb. I believe in Wyatt Teller. I believe in Ethan Poick. I believe in Joe Batonio. Like, our guys are physical. Our guys are up for the challenge, and I think that's what football is. They're gonna have guys. They got some good guys, but I believe in my guys.
Jameis, you were quick to point out in your post-game press conference that you guys kind of picked up where Deshaun had left off in the previous game. A lot of people are using your performance on Sunday to further kind of bury Deshaun sort of thing. And I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts or feelings on that?
Well, that's none of my business. Other people's, but I know Deshaun Watson is a great quarterback. It's unfortunate that his name has to continue to come up because of his injury, but he's going to bounce back stronger than ever. But my focus, what's important to me right now, is making sure that we go out there and do even better than what we did last week. And that comes from practicing great Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday to put ourselves in the best possible position to execute.
Jameis, the pregame speeches that you give seem to go viral every time. I'm just curious, do you prepare, rehearse them at all, or is it just kind of like the cup?
Bro, listen, this is who I am. Like a lot of people, if you spend time trying to figure out who is this guy, you're wasting your time. All right, that's just who I am. I'm not rehearsing things. What I am rehearsing is our plays. If you want to hear me call a play call out, I'll rehearse that for you. I am doing that in the mirror. I am having my wife call out plays and stuff like that. So if you want to see some rehearsal stuff, find me going over the playbook. hey, Rod didn't see me on the toe pro. Rod, ask Rod what I be doing. Anyway.
So the either W is just all off the cuff?
Well, no, the either W was that was something that was just brewing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it started with alphabet soup, then it ended up being pancakes, W pancakes, and then it ended up being in the W. What's up, Dave? So that was something that, but I've always done that. I've always done
30.
Because alphabet soup's growing up in the hood. Like, you gonna eat alphabet soup, So I'm only eating the W.
Who's the next? Take one more.
Have you heard from Eminem since you voted him
I have not. I have not heard from Eminem, but that is. I encourage everyone to just have that mentality, because that's so true in all of our
10.
Opportunities only come around once, and we have to be grateful and receive them with authority and make the most of them.
Yep.
All right, there you go, Jameis Winston at the podium. You and I were discussing, as Jameis was talking there, you had a Game 4 of the World Series last night.
You did.
Which is rating awesome, by the way. That's 13 to 15 million. A lot of star power in that thing,
Yeah.
as there would be, and it's responding as well. And you had something that I've never seen, which was two gentlemen in the stands try to rip the ball and eventually succeed in ripping the ball out of Mookie Betts' glove.
Yes, and I would say that one man was significantly more responsible than the other one is. He had both hands on the glove and got the ball out. The Yankees have issued a statement about the fans who were ejected from World Series Game 4 for violating the fan code of conduct. Now, meanwhile, ESPN, a columnist for ESPN, wrote an article about this guy and said that he was a real beaut. I'm serious. If you look it up, you'll find it.
That the guy who did it's a beaut?
Yeah, that he hung out with them at a bar
I
afterwards.
loved it.
And it was a real
He's
beaut.
a great guy.
Yeah.
I bet he was.
All right, statement from the New York Yankees. Last night, two fans were ejected from Yankee Stadium for egregious and unacceptable physical contact with Dodgers outfielder Mookie Betts. Well, to be fair, it was really his glove.
Yep.
The safety and security of players, fans, and stadium staff is the foundational element of every event held at Yankee Stadium, and it cannot be compromised. Tonight marks the final home game of our year, and we want every ounce of our fans' passion on display. Yankee Stadium is known for its energy and intensity. However, the exuberance of supporting one's team can never cross the line into intentionally putting players at physical risk. The Yankees and Major League Baseball maintain a zero-tolerance policy towards this type of behavior displayed last night. These fans will not be permitted to attend tonight's game in any capacity. That's great.
That's nice. Nice little slap on the wrist there.
That's great. There are people calling for them to be banned from baseball games for their lives.
You and I are old enough to remember Jeffrey Mayer.
Yes.
The Jeter hit against the Orioles, I want to say like 95 or 96 in the ALCS, and Davey Johnson arguing about it, where Mayer pulled the Jeter home run over the fence. And, of course, Bartman,
he can't go in public.
Yeah, no one's seen him in years.
I was at a bar in
Moises
Chicago
Alou
when
going
that
like,
happened.
"What are you doing?"
So I saw somebody
His headset
compared
on, he
how
was so locked in, like he probably. Are you even aware?
I saw somebody comparing this to Bartman, be like, Bartman was turned into the biggest villain, and this guy's being praised, and I'm like,
how do you not see the difference?
Bartman hurt his team
Correct.
in their stadium
In Wrigley.
In Wrigley, this guy was doing. He's like, I'm going to help the Yankees. I'm doing whatever I can.
Yeah. Pretty simple. Yeah. This from Mary Carey in the last minute. Former Browns owner Art Modell makes the Pro Football Hall of Fame contributor reduction list from 25 to 9.
Let's go, Grossi. Let's go, MKC. Keep him out.
Yeah. There was a famous story of like Bill is it Bob Kravitz, who's the longtime columnist in Indy when he presented Kravitz when he did the Peyton Manning thing at the Hall of Fame, and he stood up and he goes, "It's Peyton Manning," and that's it. That was the whole presentation, and they voted, and he was in unanimously or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, all you have to do is say, he moved the Cleveland Browns, and then sit down.
That's it.
And that's it. That's the way that goes. All right, you got Bernie coming up next?
Yes, sir.
Bernie Kosar coming up next. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Boost your game day this season with the Ballybet Sportsbook app. Place your first bet of $50 or more and you get $150 back in bonus bets. Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. A real treat now as we head on the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. It is the great, the incomparable Bernie Kosar joining us there. Great friend of the program, great friend in general. Bernie, obviously it's been an emotional week for all of us, my friend, and obviously you're not alone in that. When you think of Jim Donovan, let's start here. What were your first interactions with him? Because those would have been when he would have been at Channel 3 long before he was the voice of the Browns.
Well, Bo, it's awesome to be with you today, and wish it was on a happier, more subject like that. But you know, me and Jim go back to, I came to Cleveland in 1985. Me and Jim came into town basically at the same time and kind of were little kids growing up in a professionalism of Cleveland and the sports business together, where he came from Boston in 85. I came from University of Miami, and basically us being rookies in town together and seeing our careers evolve. And one of my first kind of interactions in 85 is typical, but then we start going on that run, and I even, in some of these amazing tributes that I'm trying to not cry on air about watching, I go back to like coming off the field in 1986 in the double overtime game and the hysteria of all the people, and seeing Jim on the sideline decide which one of us to interview right after the game finished. And both me and Mosley were trying to pretend we're cool and like we expected all that to happen. And I think we were in as much shock and couldn't really get words out of our mouth. So for me, Mosley, and Jim, and one of the kind of high points of my career and life, the comeback of the double overtime, and then immediately following that winning kick, it's me, Donovan, and Mosley yucking it up like little 8-year-olds on the field was incredibly fun. And then to go, fast forward, 35 plus years of hanging out with him, and then getting to be in the booth with him and be his partner, announcing games, and me being the unprofessional side of that duo there doing games, and for him to make me actually look good doing it and handle all the real blocking and tackling that goes behind the scenes in a broadcast was just spectacular. And I almost was, as I was thinking about some of this over the last couple days, and I was thinking of I had the honor of traveling with the team a couple weeks ago, and me and Nathan went out to dinner, and Andrew Siciliano. Yeah, before the game and stuff. And it reminded me of how much fun we had. And it reminded me of that's really when I got a chance to know Jim Donovan, because I was traveling, with the team for a few years, and me and him were hanging out doing those dinners just like Nathan, me and you did, a few weeks ago. And I just loved it. I loved it then. I'm not trying to suck up to you. I don't want to swallow your cranium up there, Nathan, but I had so much fun doing that. And when I did that with Jim, yeah, it's why we love the sport. It's why we love our city. It's why the Dog Pound is such a family. And it's not, when I started in the business of sports in the early 80s, it was us and them. And I love my coaches, but they always coached us to hate the media. Don't trust the media. The media is not your friends. And it took me decades to get through some of that scarring or brainwashing that happened. And when you start realizing that you're really more friends with these guys than it is work, and that I crossed that kind of delta in my mind, it really was special. And it makes tough stuff like this weekend, when you hear what happened on Saturday, so sad and emotional, and you really gravitate to these awesome times that we had together from a personal side, and it's kind of manifested in what we're talking about here.
Yeah, and it was obviously very sad this weekend.
Hey, and if I could,
Yeah.
if I could add to my talking here,
Yeah.
and then I'm not trying to be funny, and I'm not trying to get on people who have spiritual beliefs and that, but I so felt the spirit of Jim Donovan, and to get a miracle W against the Baltimore Ravens Sunday afternoon like we did, and then to finally see, not just for maybe this season, but for the whole century, the 25 years that Jim Donovan was the voice of the Browns here, just about so many things at the end of games went so wrong for us to come out on the short side of it. To see the Jim Donovan spirit almost watching over us from above, to have the game fall our way too, and to end up with a hard-fought, close win W. I really believe his spirit's was watching over us, and it was just such an awesome tribute, and in a tough situation for his awesome wife and daughter Megan and Cheryl to have some positiveness in that weekend, like us fans and his friends did.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And I mean, it just, you felt watching it that there was, the hand of Jim was certainly at play there. And it was a win that they had to have in order to honor him, and honor him they did. And Bernie, when you were playing, this was a team of great consequence. And for the vast majority of the time that Jim was doing the play-by-play role for the Browns, unfortunately, they were not. We were joking when we had Joe Thomas here. You knew for a stretch the Browns were going to get elite left tackle play, and then they were going to have an elite broadcaster as that voice. And I think it almost makes what he did even, all the more impressive, to be as beloved and as good as he was, despite not necessarily having the product on the field match his excellence in the booth.
Yeah, well said. I mean, it's not to go over 25 years of the Browns and some of the tough situations that he had to announce games in, to have a generation of kids. My kids grew up listening to Jim Donovan, okay, and they love the Browns despite how some of the games went, because of the enthusiasm and adrenaline and spirit that he brought to the game and brought to all of us. And he not only did that on the air, God, he did that in person too.
Yeah, he absolutely did. And when you do it in a place like this, and you know this from quarterbacking in a place like this, there's a responsibility that comes with it. People here want you to shoot them straight, and they want you to be his job as conduit between fan and organization. It times can be a tough one, but it was something that he was always so great at delicately navigating. And it came through every single Sunday, and you've been in those spots as well, and know it very, very well. Bernie, we did want to talk a little football with you as well, and the nature of the game on Sunday, from the standpoint of, and I'm with you on the miracle that happens at the end. I mean, if that's not divine intervention, I don't know what is. But in terms of the play that you saw from Jameis and what you saw from this offense, 300-yard passer, put some points on the board, receivers getting involved. What was the biggest difference that you saw from what it was this past weekend and what it had been previously?
Yeah, so one of the things that was really glaring and really telling in a super positive way was we all loved how the season materialized from middle of November last year through the New Year's Day. And the run and enthusiasm that the team played, and Joe Flacco and that offense did last year in 2023. And what I saw Sunday, and granted, it's one game and it's hard to watch all of it. I didn't do as good a job of picking apart each detail like I tend to do with it. But it looked eerily similar to Thanksgiving to Christmas last football season when Joe was quarterbacking, and the play calling, the types of plays, the more condensed run play action game, the intermediate throwing from the beginning of the game, that 10 to 18 to 20 yard throw, not only was attempted, run, and thrown, it was executed, and you saw really nice separation. And to see kind of, I like to think, the coming out party of Cedric Tillman.
Yep.
Yeah, it's easy to say today, okay, we all love Cedric Tillman. He caught 9 catches for north of 100 yards, got 2 touchdowns. Of course, we all love him today. But we were talking, and Nathan, even a couple of weeks ago, you and me were talking about, God, for a tall kid who was body catching a year and a half ago, to see at the end of last year how he uses his hands and likes to grab with his hands and how he's getting stronger and better in route running, despite the fact that he did drop that ball for Deshaun at the end of game a month ago. His play time got cut. His spirit didn't get broken. And instead of feeling sorry for himself and cowering under pressure when his opportunity came up the next time, he embraced that downfall a month ago and played exceptional. And seeing him, and then almost like people were picking on Elijah Moore through the first part of the season, like they were picking on Elijah Moore through the first part of last season. Yet Elijah Moore's ability to connect with Joe Flacco in the play-action run game at the end of last season was a big differentiator in us playing good offense last year. And albeit just one game, but Elijah Moore was a difference maker. 8 catches, 85 yards, and separation in the passing game of him being open. Jerry Jeudy, had his best game too. So, it eerily reminded me in a positive way of the solid, effective offense that we saw last year. And if it was kind of the first time in a while that we had Conklin, Teller, Ethan Postnick, healthier Joe Patonio, and DeJuan Jones, who I've been a big fan of.
Yep.
And at left tackle to step in there and look at I don't want to say we simplified the game plan, because it's still complex to run the ball, play action, third down pass. That's still not just easy. But when you don't do, and you don't have to do 25 snaps of spread, 5-man protection, shotgun, and you as a 350-pound man like DeJuan Jones is, and you're allowed to just physically impose your will with running after you and running down on running game and plays, and then simulated run-type aggressive play-action pass, that's his sweet spot. And our line, that was fun to watch that line, and that line reminded me of the Thanksgiving to Christmas 2023 Cleveland Browns. And if that was just one game, so if this week, this is a tough Charger team. I know their record's just all right, but they're a tough guy team too with Harbaugh coming in here. But if we get them keep improving a little bit with that offense, Jimmy Johnson statement, somehow, some way get a win this week with a bye week next week, we have a chance to start. I know it's a long shot here at 2-6, but I love how the players are embracing that the season's not over. This is not a next season type thing. It's a challenge, no doubt, but I love how the players have dealt with the 1-6 mess to start the year, and instead of cashing it in, instead of making excuses, they embraced and came out and did something that probably nobody really expected, and hats off to them.
Buddy, we thank you for sharing your thoughts on Jim.
Bernie.
It is awfully wonderful to talk football with you and to hear your voice. Thank you, buddy, for your time.
All right, guys, call anytime for anything. You matter, and go Browns.
There he is.
Wins we're going to have at the end of this week.
Let's go.
Let's go.
See you guys.
That is the great Bernie Kosar. Rumpke Waste Recycling, great place to start and build a career. Check out the latest opportunities to join the team that's working together to keep your community clean and green. Learn more at rumpke.com. Can you imagine, like in the late 80s, going from Bernie Kosar to Chris Collinsworth, from Brown to Bengal? But that's what we're going to do coming up next.
That's right.
You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. When a medical mistake causes you injury, call the medical malpractice attorneys at 1-800-ELK Ohio. Elk & Elk's proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. And thrilled to be joined on the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it Twisted Cleveland. It is the voice of the NFL on NBC. It is Chris Collinsworth, Bengals legend as well. Chris, we thank you so much. And obviously, in homage of the great Jim Donovan, and you guys go way back. And for all that you've accomplished in your career, it all started with Jim. Your first game is with Jim. What can you tell us about those early days and perhaps even that first game?
I just say thank God Jim Donovan was my partner, because I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I mean, none. And if you know Jim at all, he's like the sweetest guy in the world. And I needed more patience with me during that time than you can possibly imagine. So I showed up at the hotel, and nobody's like, they don't teach you how to do it. So I'm writing the names of the players on a manila envelope, like I could fold open and flip over, right? And so I'm sitting there, and I was like, all right, at least I've got something going on here. And then David Michaels, who's Al Michaels' brother, who was our producer for that game, came walking in, and he knocked on the door, came in, and he goes, so how you preparing? What are you doing? And I showed him my manila envelope, and he was like, oh, my God. Just like, oh, this is going to be a disaster. How did I get stuck with this guy? So he had been working with Terry Bradshaw, and Bradshaw sent over some boards that he had made up or whatever. But Jim Donovan never blinked. Never with me. I'm just telling you, it was like he was my long-lost brother. Bob Costas beat me up badly on the pregame show because I was so nervous I could barely talk. And we did a rehearsal, and it was just horrendous. And Jim just kept telling me how good I was going to be once we get on live air. And so, I mean, every time I went to Cleveland, we did the Hall of Fame game, I think it was last year. And I go up and just got a chance to go back and spend like an hour with Jim, just sitting and talking and remembering, that whole crazy. And it wasn't the only time that we worked together. But for me, I mean, we literally did whatever was the last, because I was the worst announcer. So they put me on the worst game. We only got to work if they had like 8 games on NBC that day. And he just, like, every game just taught me something new and different and did all the supporting work. And now that I know what I didn't know then, I thank God all the time that Jim was my first partner, because he was just so amazingly patient with me.
Well, Chris, you and I have one thing in common. We both did our first games ever with Jim Donovan, and both wrote our initial boards on manila envelopes, because I found out basically as we were boarding a plane to London, England, that Deke was not going to be able to go, and I did that back in 2017. I still have my manila envelopes. I don't know if you still do as well, but my sweet wife got those framed in a picture of Jim, which is obviously a very special thing in my house. Should also tell you that you're my wife's favorite announcer by far, and she is not like an announcer person. She's just like, oh, Chris, I told her you were going to be on the show. She's like, no way. She was very excited, so I had to get that out there for you. Did Jim ever, do you recall maybe one piece of advice that is something that has kind of stuck with you as you've obviously become, one of the preeminent, if not the preeminent color commentators in the league, but just something that, he said that stuck with you?
Just smile. Like at the end of it, you're in a relationship with millions of people who are looking. Those people all work for a living, right? They don't have a chance to spend all week. I mean, imagine our jobs, which are to watch football all week. How many people would kill to have that job, right? Mm-hmm. Just watching football all week. Are you crazy? He goes, just take advantage of it. Just smile and act like you're the luckiest guy on earth, and it'll come across, and people will respect it, and they won't remember your mistakes. They'll remember whether they like you or not. It took a little while for anybody to like me, but it was great advice. And Jim lived that every day for his entire life, and it's the reason that he's thought of in our business the way that he is. And it doesn't have to be whether you're Al Michaels or Joe Buck or whoever else there is, Mike Tirico. They all know people like Jim Donovan who have devoted their life to it, who, for whatever reason, by the grace of God, they got lucky breaks and got to go on to the national thing. But Jim just became a beloved treasure in one place, in Cleveland. And I think probably at that time in my career, he probably helped keep me alive because we did a lot of Browns games at that time. And he would walk around like I was a proud friend no matter what anybody was shouting at me or saying I didn't like the Browns or whatever it was. He was like my personal bodyguard, even though I was a little taller than he was.
Chris, talking to the legendary Chris Collinsworth, of course, of NBC, and worked with Jim early on in his career, obviously, at NBC at that time. How cognizant were you, son? Obviously, you hear of his passing on Saturday, and that rocks you. We had Mike on earlier in the week, and he kind of talked about that. But how cognizant were you of, as you were preparing for your game on Sunday Night Football, of what happened here against Baltimore and the miraculous nature of that?
Well, I'm a little bit of a faithful guy, so sometimes I think there is a little intervention, and I just remember watching the end of that game and going, God, I mean, not that I'm cheering against Baltimore or cheering for the Browns, but man, I'm kind of cheering for the Browns here a little bit. I wanted that win, and I know the Browns wanted it and they needed it and all those things, and I was, happy for Jameis. He played a great game, but I was just really happy that somebody was going to be thinking about Jim after that win. There was almost no way that you could sit and watch that game and not think that Jim had his finger on the scale to tip it just a little bit. Like every good thing that was happening to the Browns and that last touchdown pass. And I go, there's my man, got his hands on the scales again. Go get him. But, yeah, I was definitely thinking about him.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, and we thank you so much for your words on that Sunday night broadcast as well about Jim. But yeah, I had the pleasure of doing that game, and at one point, I think after the Kyle Hamilton dropped the interception, I was just like, I'm telling you, this is something else at work. We had a field goal go in off the uprights. Tucker has one that just kind of pushes left at the end. They're dropping balls in the sun. It was wild, the confluence of events that led to that, and that's exactly what it felt like for Jim. And I appreciate that, we had Jim Nantz on earlier today, and he goes, you root for people, and in that case, you're rooting for the Browns, you're rooting for Jim Donovan to have that proper, send-off, and that's what he got. And that's why sports can be so special. I call it, can be the great unifier, and on that day for the Browns, as you talked about, had been struggling. There had been, talks about the players and the fans and, beef there, and Jim Donovan brought everybody together on one day and produced a great win. And as you would say, he helped bring people together for years, right, in that booth alongside you, and then certainly here with his time with the Cleveland Browns.
Well, and I think he set the tone for Browns fans in general. Like, it's so easy to be, a fair-weathered fan. And there's a lot of places where that's really true. But when I think of Cleveland, I never think of that. I mean, those people are Browns fans, right? I mean, it doesn't matter. Like Pittsburgh, they're Steelers fans. Doesn't matter what the record is. You don't have to talk people into being Browns fans. But what you do have to do is you have to sort of nurture people through the bad years. And certainly we've seen those in Cincinnati here as well. And you have to make them remain fans and have a twinkle in your eye despite whatever the losing record might have been or the tough loss might have been. And I just don't know of anybody in sports who probably could have done that any better than Jim Donovan, because even when he was as sick as he was, when he came out to see me, it was like a newborn baby coming. I mean, you would have never thought or known that he was sick. I a couple of times sort of loosely tried to bring it up, and he just went right back to some happy subject and talking about the good old days of the Browns or whatever the case may be. He didn't have a negative bone in his body, and so I was really sad. I know we tried to get on with you guys on Monday that I couldn't do it. I was flying back from wherever we were, San Francisco. And but it means a lot to me that you guys would call and ask and want me to be on the show, because he's a special guy, and I know he'll be remembered for a long, long time there.
We can't thank you enough for doing so and sharing your unique experience with Jim and giving us a little bit of your time. I know you're obviously very, very busy, but thank you very, very much, Chris. Really appreciate it.
Oh, Nathan, really a pleasure. Anytime you guys need me, let me know.
Thank you.
Right, there it is. The great Chris Collinsworth. That's some great stuff there. It's just great.
That was
to hear that.
Yeah.
There's a, and you think of when we would have Jim in here, and you spent so much more time even than I did, but when we would have him in here and talk, and he had such a great appreciation for people who took what they did seriously because he did. And he didn't have a whole lot of tolerance if you didn't. Hey, come on, right? I mean, that's where that comes from. It's like, who's this? What are we doing here?
Yeah.
This is the Olympics on NBC.
Yeah, we got Colin Jost
and this
playing around in the water.
Playing around in Tahiti. Come on.
Cut himself on some coral. Like, I don't care. Get him out of here.
Get him out of here. Hey, come on. But I do. So, there's a common thread, and Gibby's done an incredible job of getting the right people on this week to celebrate Jim, and I think
his
Jim
microphone comments earlier aside.
He's done very, very good.
Yes.
So this is, to hear Jim and to hear Chris and to hear Mike and to hear from Bernie and everybody that we had on, titans of the industry, and in the case of Chris, think about this, folks. He worked to get on with us today.
Yeah.
We asked.
It was that important to him.
It was that important to be able to do it. Jim Nantz asked to come on.
They both thanked us for
Correct.
having them on. Yeah. That is very kind, and also, believe me, we are the ones doing the thank yous in this case, and even thank you to you, Gibbe.
Even to Gibbe. Absolutely. All right. OBM, the preferred provider of copiers and document services for the Cleveland Browns. They'll tackle any size office. That number is 216-485-2000, or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. There actually is so much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Be sure to catch the Browns preview show presented by Tostitos tonight, 7 to 8, University Hospital's Cleveland Browns Radio Network. Wide receiver Cedric Tillman and Browns play-by-play voice Andrew Siciliano going to join Ken and Gerard right here on 850 ESPN Cleveland. What was your favorite? I have 3 for you, 3 quick hitters. Favorite Halloween costume as a kid?
Maverick.
Hold on. Favorite candy you stole from your kids when they participated? And favorite costume your kids wore when they were young?
Favorite.
So when you say Maverick, did you have like the authentic jumpsuit, or did
I had a
somebody
flight
make
suit.
it for
No,
you,
it
or
was
did
a real Navy flight suit? We got the patches.
How did you get that? How'd you acquire that as a
one
young?
of my dad's students?
Wow, Pedro did a solid.
Pedro did a solid there.
Yeah. Bootsy was that a couple of years ago, and it was unbelievable. It was just spectacular.
Yeah, it's a fantastic costume.
You know how he got that? Remember that movie Maverick was delayed like 3 years. Top Gun Maverick. It was supposed to come out in like 18, and then they're like, no, we're going to do it in theaters once we're through COVID. We're going to wait. And so I was on Amazon. I mean, the movie, all there was a trailer, and I found the suit on Amazon. I'm like, this is unbelievable. And the patch came with a Maverick patch and a Rooster patch. And I didn't even know who Rooster was.
No, because
nobody did.
Why
the
would
movie
you?
wasn't out. But that's how we ended up with it. So that's pretty good, solid out of Pedro.
Yeah, he did definitely. He did a very good job right there. Candy was for sure Butterfinger. I think that was 100% a lock. Was Butterfinger for sure.
I steal the mini Snickers and put them in the freezer.
Freezer is it's a great thing to do.
So great. I don't need the big guys. Just give me those little bite-sized guys. Take those cats in the freezer. Perfect little taste. And favorite for your kids.
All right, so I'm looking. I was looking through right here to try to pull up, give me some ideas. Back in 2016, Arden was like from a sock hop.
Okay.
Like for Grease.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty good.
And so it was good. And then Boods was like a Pokemon.
Look at Boods. That's very strong.
That one was pretty good. They had another one, a good one, where Boods was Luigi, which he was a great Luigi.
You get a mustache on him?
And mustache, oh yeah. Yeah, they had some good ones, man. I mean, Halloween is a good time. Oh, this was a good one when they were Maleficent and Doctor Strange.
Oh, that's strong.
Yeah, that was a good one there.
That's very strong.
Will all 3 of yours dress up tomorrow, or is the oldest one not a dress up?
No, he's a vagrant. So this is a license to wreak havoc, is what it's going to be. There's a neighborhood in town that they just absolutely bomb, and then when they're done with that, then he's got like some sort of a campfire, bonfire, s'mores situation that he's going to partake in. Remember last year he was Johnny Lawrence. Very nice. He was Johnny Lawrence from Karate Kid last year, in the skeleton outfit, and that was very strong. As a little kid, NBC, my favorite one he was Zorro, and nobody knew what Zorro was except I did, and we went to one house, I'll remember, in a development, and an older gentleman came out and was so excited that he was Zorro that he just poured all the candy in the sack. Like he was an older guy was so excited he was Zorro.
What a
you win.
score.
That was a win. Yeah. Bootsy was.
I did like
Bootsy's
a
highest was certainly Maverick. That was my favorite one. He was absolutely pitch perfect as Maverick.
What about the middle one?
Beamsy almost always goes athlete.
Like it.
Almost always. He's almost always an athlete. He's the smartest one because he was the one that I realized what he was doing. He would always try to be an athlete he didn't have a jersey for. So then I would have to buy the jersey. Like, he was pretty savvy. I'm like, wait a second. I noticed she's going to be Justin Herbert this year. That's an odd choice. And so like, oh, yeah. Here, this uniform. That's all I need. Okay. All right.
This year, Arden and her boyfriend did Princess Leia and Han Solo, which was actually pretty good.
Did she get this right?
Oh, yeah.
That's very strong.
Yeah, that was good. Another
did she
candy
say,
I want to
love you, and did he say, I know?
I know. Yeah, of course. I have the T-shirts.
Yeah.
Another candy that's very strong. I was at the Cavs game, and the people I went with were access this club, and on the way out, they had bags of Reese's Pieces, which is I was trying to tell the kids.
Stop.
River, our former intern, was there. I'm like, you got to try it. And
this is the superior.
It's the best. It's
the thin candy
shell.
M&M's tried to do their own.
No,
that's not right.
It's not even
Reese's Pieces.
That's it's an absolute delight. Yeah. By the way, and what should come as no surprise to anybody, Austin, who was the Yankees fan that actually ripped the ball out of Mookie Betts' glove, This is a quote I'm going to give you. Austin was a college friend, very passionate about the teams he represents, will do anything for them. A menace, wild boy as well. He is that person that undoubtedly would say he would do that, then actually do it. Maniac status since college has been confirmed. That's a quote from Rob Gronkowski.
That's right.
His college friend.
That's exactly right. The next level is next. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.